All right, Antonio Callaway will not be available for week 1. We know what the situation is there with Callaway among 7 suspended players for the Michigan game. Callaway being the one guy that's a huge factor in this one. In looking at the other 6 players, based on what I remember, it's been a few days, but you did have one loss along the defensive front that's going to lose some depth for the Gators up front. But basically, it's Callaway that's going to really hurt this team. And so how do you expect the personnel breakdown to fill the void?
Well, luckily for Florida, Mark, this is one of the deepest positions on the Florida team. Now, we don't get to see it all too often because they're held back by the quarterback position. But what you're getting here is Antonio Callaway is now gone, but you have Tyree Cleveland, you have Freddie Swain, Josh Hammond. Daquan Green is a true freshman who's turning heads, but you also have the steady Brandon Powell that you've been able to lean on, and Dre Massey, who should have been played last year. He was going to be a big part of the offense last year. Got hurt on the opening kickoff, but the guy to watch out for, Mark, besides Tyree Cleveland, who we saw big playability from him last year, will be true freshman Kadarius Toney. I think he's going to be a playmaker. We saw him in the spring game line up at quarterback. He's now going to be a receiver that they can move all over the field. I think you'll see him on sweeps. You'll see him on reverses. You may see him in the backfield as well. He's a high school quarterback. He threw for a lot of yards in high school as a quarterback from Alabama. He's going to be an X factor. He's going to be a guy, I think, by the time everything gets lined up, that Michigan will have to keep an eye on, because they don't know a lot from him. And going through camp and what we saw through spring, Toney is going to be a playmaker. So, Florida's really, really deep at receiver. Like I said, quarterback holds him back a bit. Tyree Cleveland, I think, is going to be the main focus at the wide receiver position. He's still the big play guy here. But Toney was going to get plenty of carries. But, Brandon Powell, we know how consistent he's been. He's been if you go back to the spring game, he was Felipe Frank's favorite target. He was the guy he could look for underneath, the guy that could convert some third downs. So I think if Frank plays, look for him, look for Brandon Powell to be a target for him. But, luckily, I mentioned Josh Hammond. He had a really good spring. Freddie Swain missed spring, but, he's going to look to be a target too. Florida is deep at receiver. So, the thing about this, if Florida gets good quarterback play, I don't think the loss of Antonio Callaway is that big of a deal. If they struggle again with quarterback play, Antonio Callaway is really about the only receiver that was proven that he could still be a game-changing type receiver with the subpar quarterback play. So one of these other guys will have to break that mold and break through if the quarterback play is not there. But if the quarterback play is good, and we see improved quarterback play from what we've seen these first 2 years under Jim McElwain, I don't think the loss of Antonio Callaway is that big. And I know that sounds weird to say because of how this Florida offense has struggled and you losing your best player, but at wide receiver, it is the deepest position on the offense for the Gators.